Faz Radio time. Did you just take a picture?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought you were going to play that a little longer. I was taking a screenshot of something with my phone.
Did you get another screenshot there?
No, I just needed the one.
Okay. So we have the year in review today of 2022, and apparently some sort of stinky turd that you want to lay in the middle of the room.
What?
And Gala truth bombs.
Yes.
So we have the 2020 crypto year in review, right?
Yeah. So this is not a Gala based show, but there will be Gala content in it, since obviously we have a large Gala fan base, as well as we do a lot of shows on
watching right now. I bet we have 3 Gala people watching right now.
You think? Maybe. Well, it has been the focus of our lives for the past few years, hollering at them and trying to get them, trying to help them go the right way, the way of the Faz.
That's right. Soon all will be Faz. All your Faz are belong to us. That is that's our motto.
Cool.
Well, all your Faz, you get it. There's going to be lots of Faz shows. All your Faz.
So next year we'll have to set the goal of having next year's year in review be the year in review of crypto, the year in review for Gala, and the year in the review of the Faz Media conglomerate.
I don't know if I want to set out a roadmap, because that limits me. And if crypto keeps going down, we're going to be begging on the streets for money.
We need Faz coin.
That's why we have a premium channel, which you missed if you're watching Faz Radio right now and you're not a member, because it's called Faz Radio Green Room.
And I did not fuck with my camera for 20 minutes this time.
Yes, and your face is like very white right now. Barely see
it.
Just turn the brightness down on your computer. That would work too, man. Or turn the light on in the office that you're at. You have the strange blue ethereal light going on all around you.
That's all of my LED lights.
Turn on the big light. It's called white balance. That's a TV term.
But then you bitch that it makes my head shine.
I'd rather see your head shine than your whole face be all... Okay, that's worse.
I told you.
I can see your head. Okay, so you need to get one of those little filters to go over the light. Well, yeah. That's not that bad. No, stop. Okay. So you can get a little like filter, and see, this is why we're doing the Faz Radio Premium, so we could pay for stuff like this, so Titan can have better video than he has right now. See, they just flipped it to me because Titan is looking so embarrassingly bad. Now he's all like red because he has colored LEDs. Oh, go back to the red. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah, you like the red?
Not really.
It's the red light district on Faz Radio.
And see how blurry he is? He needs to buy a new camera. Somebody help Titan buy a new camera. We have premium for $2 a month.
You know, I did say this in the green room. I spent $150 on this Jellycomb camera, which was supposed to be top of the line. And as you can see by our broadcast, it's not even close.
And I buy the Logitech W310 on Amazon. It's been sold there since 2014 that I'm aware of. It works fine. Just saying.
Yeah, that new Logitech is supposed to be pretty good. I might grab that one.
You're going to have to show more of me. You're looking all spooky and scary and stuff. This is not the Halloween episode.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
So, okay. So why don't you start with the year way back in January?
Well, we're not going to go month by month.
Oh, darn.
I mean, that would take us forever.
We require more money for that.
Jesus. Why everything's always about money with you? Why can't you just talk about the cool stuff?
Well,
all right.
I'm waiting for you to talk about the cool stuff.
So beginning of the year, right? First quarter. None of the crap we're dealing with today was even remotely thought of or a possibility, right? So at the beginning of the year, crypto had hit new highs, right? And way higher than anybody even thought about. So according to the data that I pulled up, it was somewhere around $3 trillion at the beginning of this year is where the total crypto market cap was. Everybody was excited. Everybody's throwing money at anything that moved. A project could come out and say, hey, we're developing blockchain technology to make three-headed worms. And people would be like, here, please take my money. And they'd get three-headed worm tokens. And they would then go stake them at whatever worm DEX that they created to do it. And they'd get 16% interest on their three-headed worm token. Everybody was living the high life, and people thought that things were never going to go sideways again. Boy, were they wrong.
Until Gary Gensler. Dun, dun, dun.
So even back then, the economy wasn't in a horrible shape, right? So
what happened was the Ukraine war started earlier this year, and that started everything just started falling apart after that. And I'm saying that's when it began, was the Ukraine war. There's probably a lot of other reasons, because the war starts changing logistics around the world. Certain products are no longer available because I believe Ukraine was the breadbasket of Europe, and now they had to get their grain from somewhere else. Everybody, like the Middle East and Africa, had to get their grain from somewhere else, and of course then they had provided oil, and there was nobody to provide that stuff, and so costs went up, shipping went up. There's still that post-COVID hangover. So it affected a lot of industries, which affected the stock market. And since crypto is associated or coupled to the stock market in some way, it all just bounced around and affected everything. And then at the same time, the U.S. federal government is going crazy, hard charging against crypto. And we haven't even gotten to FTX yet. So go ahead, you do your thing.
No. So, at that point, the economy still didn't look terrible, right? It took a hit because of COVID, but it wasn't like imploding kind of like it is now. People were still doing okay financially. The jobs market was in a better place. And these two new tokens started dominating the world, right? UST and Terra Luna. And this magical force of stablecoin paired with an algorithmic regular token, people were taking their life savings, 60, 80, 100,000, 500,000, and just dumping it into this new stablecoin. And FTX at that point was still on the rise. And if you go back to news articles, SBF was all over the headlines as the poster child of the new crypto movement. He was doing everything right. He was creating a wonderful ecosystem for people.
Well, he was also going in front of Congress.
Goodness.
He was also testifying in front of Congress about making things better. Remember?
I do. He had tried to get Congress kickstarted on legislation that made sense, right? And that was a big deal because nobody had really consulted with Congress, so to speak, on, hey, I'm kind of the expert. Look at what I've been doing. I've built this huge powerhouse of an exchange. So I think I have some ideas on how we can regulate this for the entire industry. So at that point, everything was going fantastic and nobody had any complaints, right? So then the interest rates started rising. And that created a whole lot of problems for a lot of different industries, right? Because in the crypto space, people were getting 10, 12, 14% interest on their staked funds in BlockFi and Nexo and on some of the other smaller DEXs. And everybody was so sure that, hey, this is because it's crypto. It's not traditional funds. How can this possibly blow up? I put my tokens in there, and they're doing whatever they're doing in order to make this work out fantastic, because I keep getting paid my interest. And things started to go a little bit south when the interest rates started to creep up. Loans started coming due. And that's when we discovered at that point that, hey, maybe the whole reason people could get so much interest is because these institutions were taking those dollars, those customer funds, and loaning them to other institutions to pay their 12% interest. And this was a big giant circle of people just loaning each other money to pay out this interest. You know what that's called? You're on mute.
Tell us.
It's called a Ponzi. Where you're paying existing people with new types of money. I kind of like that dark look on you. You're a shadowy supercoder that way.
Well, so this is not the dark look, but I leave that light off because I don't like lights in my face. I mean, I could do this. How's that?
Look like you're wearing a hoodie.
There you go. Here, I can make it really kind of dark.
So this was the beginning of the end, and we start moving into summertime, right? So why don't you tell us a little about summertime?
Yes, to distract people away from your blurriness. Jesus Christ.
This camera sucks ass.
I don't know what the deal is. Everything was fine until like yesterday when you started messing with all your setup.
No, I'm going to blame this on you again, because you told me you need a dedicated computer for your Faz Radio stuff. So I pulled this computer out, and I've had nothing but trouble ever since.
Okay. Now, what am I supposed to comment on again? What was that?
We have now seen the interest rates rising and these loans coming due, and these companies started to get into financial trouble come summertime. So maybe walk us through the blow up and how it affected summertime.
So this was like your thing, and I let you go with it. You even wrote a script for this, and should I have read the script?
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea. Since you're supposed to be talking to, it's not my show.
Oh,
right?
Sorry.
It's our show, so you should be contributing as well.
He doesn't like it when I talk too much, and then he starts saying, "Well, you're just going to get rid of Titan." And I'm like, "No, this is for both of us." And then of course now I want him to talk. He's like, "No, you got to talk."
Well, okay. So if you want me to have full and fair disclosure, I do need to catch up on the chapters, so I need you to talk for a little so I can type some of these chapters in so I don't get lost.
Okay. So you want to talk about the year in review? Yes. Summertime, things started going south. I don't know. I didn't pay as close of attention as you did. A lot of promised things that were supposed to happen kept getting delayed, like that whole Flare thing. Do you remember Flare was going to be delivered in like July of
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah, well, it was originally slated for like last September. Then they bumped it to the end of the year. Then they bumped it to the spring. Then they bumped it again to the summer. And they at least in January, they did come out, I think it was January, with the Songbird. Remember, we got into the Songbird. We got that distribution, that airdrop.
I haven't claimed my Songbird in a long time. I got to do that.
Yeah, you might have lost a few of them then.
So okay, so let's see. Are we at the?
We're at US. We're at UST, right? UST and Luna blow up to put further pressure on the industry, and then that's where we're at now.
Okay, it was discovered that many centralized exchanges were over leveraged in loans and interest-bearing accounts, and several firms like Three Arrows Capital started to fail. BlockFi was one of them. Much later, it was found that Genesis Financial, that is but is working with Gemini. They did Gemini Earn. Genesis Financial was being funded by FTX, and also FTX. What was that? This is getting a bit later, but this happened at the time. Yes, thank you. BlockFi was being BlockFi started having issues, but before that they went to the SEC started going after BlockFi. And BlockFi then had to pay this huge, like $100 million settlement to the SEC. So BlockFi decided that they would change who held their money. Before they were holding it on Gemini or maybe even Genesis Financial. And I remember this at the time. Once they moved off of Gemini, that's when I got out of BlockFi. So they started using FTX to hold their money. The reason they did that is because they needed money to pay the SEC, which they didn't have. So they put their money on FTX, and FTX gave them the money to pay. Well, then after, and I don't know if this money was actually transferred yet or what or how that worked, but whatever the case is, when FTX did blow up, it took BlockFi with it because FTX started insinuating its way into everything. It was wanting to literally take over the world. It was coupling its product with everything. I mean, it makes sense. You'll get to be a bigger company if you start absorbing things that other companies would do. They just weren't doing it responsibly. And so once FTX started to blow up, it slowly dawned on people how much they were actually invested in everything. And that was bad. And that caused a lot of people to doubt crypto, and people started pulling out of crypto, and people started losing their money in crypto, and then crypto started going down and down and down and down. Well, Meanwhile, on the CryptoFaz Academy Discord, everybody and their fucking brother was saying things like, Gala's going down because Gala sucks. No, the market's going down, people. Gala is bought by people by people and bots that leverage against everything else, and it went down too. Just like all the other things.
I do think that one of the biggest shockers in this whole collapse of the crypto market was people finding out how intertwined all of these different companies were, right? So people go, when FTX started to fail or when UST started to fail, people went, oh, okay, so what? They're a shit coin. They're a shit exchange. Let them die. And then all of a sudden you realize, holy shit, these 7 other exchanges and 2 other, DEXs and 45 tokens are also a part of this mess.
Well, it's kind of like, imagine you're a rich guy and you have like a wife and 2 kids. And then it comes out that you actually have 47 kids and the wife didn't know about it. That's really what FTX was doing. So the dad then has to support is actually supporting all these other kids that we don't know about, and then the dad loses his job. That's basically it. Then all the kids go hungry. But FTX was trying to insinuate their way into the government. They're trying to insinuate their way into buying other exchanges and stuff. And the reason they were doing that was because they had a lot of power, and because they had a lot of power, they were thinking that they were on top of the world and could do whatever they wanted. And so they started making a lot of bad over-leveraged trades, thinking, wow, if I could just double this $100 billion I have, then we'll be doing well. So there was a lot of hubris as crypto went up. I thought it was kind of starting to go down before January, personally.
So I could see a little dip. I did not expect the sheer volume of what actually transpired to happen. I says, okay, we'll dip every year, even in the stock market, right? Every year, over the winter months, things go down, and then come springtime, April, May, they go right back up. It's like this little valley in the hills of life. It's just an expected thing. So by January, February, I'm like, okay, no big deal. We're down a little bit. It'll come back up. There's no problem with that. Boy, was I wrong, right? And I think a lot of us, most of the people, I would guess 90% of the people out there didn't think what was actually going to transpire, thought it was possible to even happen. But here we are. And I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
So, okay, I think FTX, I think FTX failed they would have stayed around longer if not for the Ukraine war. I think the Ukraine war had a lot to do with the world economy and with crypto economy, because again, crypto is very coupled to the stock market. So as the stocks fell, people started moving money to make their money safer. They started taking it out of speculative investments like crypto, and then FTX, which had been making all this money on crypto, started getting short. And once they became short and once they fell over, then they pulled everybody with them. I thought they had like more companies than Enron as far as how they ran things.
So like FTX, I think, then I hope I'm right. The number that sticks in my head, it was like 135 companies, shell companies that they had created and or bought to be part of their conglomerate of money shifting operations. So the main two were that Alameda and FTX. And when Caroline was arrested, the news had reported she had started throwing Sam under the bus. And there were all kinds of quotes posted that, yeah, we knew what was going on. We were doing it on purpose. And Sam kept telling me we weren't supposed to be doing this, to keep it quiet. But as more and more information came out, we were finding that, for example, they would take customer funds from FTX and loan them to Alameda. Then Sam would go into the Alameda cache of money and he would go and buy like legitimate tokens or legitimate shares in other companies with that loan, and then take those shares and or those tokens and then take and go to a fourth company and buy their stuff with it. So it was just a shell game of all this customer funds. And he thought, well, I've made billions of dollars doing this in the past by getting like little small amounts, 10 million here, 20 million here, and turning it into 50 or 80 million. If I do it with bigger numbers, I'll get even bigger results. And the problem came in to where when these interest rates rose worldwide, all these loans started coming due.
Well, and why did they raise the interest rates? Let's talk about that part.
Oh my goodness. So you and I will disagree on this. You go first as to why you think interest rates rose.
Okay. So why this happened, why the interest rates went up, is because back in 2020, we had a pandemic all around the world. And once that happened, we started having this money crunch. The money crunch happened because a lot of people weren't going to work, and so money wasn't being generated. And so then they needed to print more money because money started having some low liquidity. They want to keep the liquidity up, so they started printing a lot of money. At the same time, the government started giving away money because people couldn't work because they were dying at work or just getting sick, and nobody would. A lot of people were just not at work, and so the government started just giving people money, like thousands of dollars. If you have kids, okay, you'll get more money, and well, this money had to be printed somewhere. We printed over $5 or $7 trillion. The United States alone printed like $5 or $7 trillion just to kind of support our economy through a hard time. And Trump did it for a while, and then I think Biden was even doing it for a while. So come 2022, they started to cut that shit off. They're like, okay, look, this is the problem, and so every month they started raising interest rates to slow down the economy. They said that the economy was overheating. And so they're raising interest rates and raising interest rates. That means it's becoming harder to borrow money. They don't want people to borrow money and do speculative bullshit with it. They want people to settle all their debts. So it's the government trying to control the economy. This matters with crypto, especially at the same time you're having problems with Ukraine limiting supply chains and stuff like that. You have the federal government actively trying to shut down the economy doing better. The Republicans probably wouldn't have done that. The Democrats did it because that's what they felt like they wanted to do. We're not a political show. We're not going to go into why or what was better. But the whole point is it was done, and that caused a big problem. It started slowing the economy down, so even less money was made, which meant more people took money out of speculative investments because they needed it to, I don't know, run their company because the stock market was going down. Their stock was worth less. And, rinse and repeat. And really quick, since I see the Nerd Node logo has just popped up, we're going to do a little segue. If you're watching this as a recording, you can feel free to move past it, but we won't tell you how far to go. Anyway, so Nerd Node is a sponsor of Faz Radio. And if you have a node, say a Gala Games node, or I think EV.io has nodes now, and Nerd Node will run those nodes for you. Now, you could run them, but these nodes frequently crash sometimes. Actually, I think mine has crashed. I haven't reset it this day. The version of the Gala nodes that are out there right now crashes once a day, and I have to reboot my computer every day. Had I been running my nodes on Nerd Node, then I wouldn't have to reboot my computer. But I'm currently broadcasting Faz Radio, so I can't do that. Nerd Node will do it for you, and for a small amount of money, I think just a part of the money that you would make, they guarantee that it will be up. Also, if they have a problem, say, I don't know, they're not running your node for whatever purpose, they'll guarantee the money that you would have gotten or the rewards that you would have gotten for that node. So it's kind of like you can't lose. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program. Mr. Titan, you may take up where I left off.
Money printer went brrr.
Money printer. So we do agree.
No, we don't. So as you put it, $5 to $7 trillion. I don't think you're far off. I think total it was about that.
We agree on this part.
Was printed, okay, and the American people got $1,400 a piece.
That's
times 345 million people. And that's not even true because families sometimes count, sometimes they don't, depending if people are married or divorced. And kids didn't count for that. They had smaller amounts given to them. Let's just say 350 million.
Who knows? Go ahead.
So they got a very small portion of that money that was printed. The rest of it went to special interests and corporations and PPP loans, which the numbers coming out now show that there was fraud like rampant with that. And the interest rate raising is a way for the government to reclaim that money, right? So there's two ways that the government can get paid back for printing that much money. The first way is by charging more in taxes or creating new taxes, right? So right now you're taxed to death. Anywhere between 35 and 50% of your money goes to taxes. So that's obviously not enough to make up the difference. So if they raise interest rates, because they're the money creator and they work with the banks and things like that, those interest rates are how they collect that money back. And in order to keep the economy running, it's part of it is the quantitative easing method that they use. And you've heard Jerome Powell, I'm sure, talk about whether it's a good idea or not. It's not, just so you know. The fiat money system, with those interest rate increases, what that does is that drains people of available money. So they have to pay more for their house. They have to pay more for any loans they take out for new cars or anything like that. And in response, these car dealerships and any of the homes and everything else, the prices have to move because of that. So there's supply and demand on both sides of that. The crypto industry, with people, they see that their tokens are going down, so they sell them, which then puts a drain on the crypto industry, and people have to do something with that money. Now, the government, and I think, Faz, you were a proponent of that, they offered bonds at like these ridiculously high interest rates. And, well, for the government, ridiculously high interest rates. You bought government bonds, right?
Yeah, I did buy something. Yeah, they okay, so whenever you raise interest rates, it not only raises them on loans that you take, but it raises them on bonds too. So I'm sure they have a different number, but they both go up at the same time generally, right? Depends on what they want to do. Well, it just so happens that they're both.
It depends, right? So at the moment, those aren't adding up to what they're supposed to be, right? So typically, when the economy goes up, the bonds and the stocks, they're typically opposite, right? Well, you saw interest rates rise and bond yield rise, which is not the greatest position to be in, because at some point they're going to have to fix that, because they can't raise interest rates and tighten the amount of money that people have and expect to pay for what the government is very, very high interest rates. So this pulls the entire drain plug out of the stock market and the crypto industry, because people want cash. They're afraid of being able to buy groceries or anything else. So they're cashing in what they got, even though it's a loss, and they're trying to harness as much cash as they can get their hands on to survive, right? So this is what you end up with. And the higher the interest rates go, the more people glom onto their cash. The economy then shoots, or not the economy, the inflation rate shoots up to keep pace with that. And while they were telling us the CPI numbers, which is Consumer Price Index, is bullshit numbers, how they come up with it. They had to find a way to not tell people how much the inflation really was, so they came up with CPI. And what CPI does is it takes different sectors, right? Like food, automobiles, clothing, imports, exports, all these different numbers, and they do an average of how much the cost has gone up or down, and they'll say, okay, over these four sectors, the consumer price index is 6%, meaning the prices in those industries went up 6%. Here's the problem, and they call that what our inflation rate is.
Maybe I'm going to beat you to the punch, but they also changed those indicators that they rely on for the CPI fairly often as well. So it's not like, I mean, they might say bread and wheat and oranges or something this quarter, but then they'll change it for another one. And it's like, you guys don't even have a fucking consistent number here, and you're trying to tell us that this is representative of the economy. That's my 2 cents. Go ahead.
Well, you saved me about 3 minutes in diatribe there. So, of course, they're going to pick the things that are most favorable for them, right? When gas prices were up over $4 a gallon, they certainly weren't going to use the gas numbers as part of that CPI calculation. Now that gas prices have come down, they'll probably start using that number in it. The real rate of inflation, I just did a total shoot from the hip based on my own budget, okay? And for Northeast Ohio, food prices went up a little over 20%. The cost for like regular goods, like toilet paper, toothpaste, all that kind of stuff went up about 10 to 12%. Gasoline, it damn near doubled over here. So it's starting to come down a little bit, but things like meat and dairy products and a lot of the things you took for granted, like my kids love macaroni and cheese, okay? What kid doesn't like macaroni and cheese, right? So my wife would get them these little macaroni and cheese bowls, right? You pop it in the microwave, it makes macaroni and cheese. And she used to get like a 4-pack of those for, like $1.20. And she spends almost $5 for a 4-pack now. I mean, it's like stupid. So very long-winded story from me here, but
see how quick I tell things and how long-winded he is? That's his shtick. That's his thing. Well, just listen to him on 2X.
Producer, feel free to mute Faz's mic.
Producer, feel free to double Titan speed, please. By the way, what time of year are we at this point?
So that's where I'm moving next. So we've had why the interest rates went up. That was a big discussion, but it's to put it into context. So I'm not saying Faz is wrong. I just see it a different way, right? This bullshit war that we've gotten ourselves involved in has cost trillions of dollars, which is also pulling money out of our economy and putting it somewhere else. It's tough. It's really, really, really tough. And so as this money printer continues to go with 1.7 trillion that Biden just signed into the other day, what was that? Tuesday, Wednesday, he signed the bill that was pushed through Congress for 1.7 trillion as our budget. That's going to put a tremendous strain on 2023.
So what is it? Is it you talking about his spending plan, the infrastructure bill?
The spending bill to keep everything running for 2023.
So it's a different bill than the infrastructure plan.
I don't know if they call that the infrastructure or not.
It was approved last year, 2021, I think.
No, it was Biden. No. The 1.7 trillion that they just got for the budget for 2023. They just passed that thing.
I haven't kept up. Sorry.
Yeah, and it's like crazy. 1.7 trillion. We're already trillions in the hole. So it's going to put a lot of stress on Build Back Better bill. There, Knight helped us out. So they call these bills all kinds of silliness. So it's going to put a lot of pressure on that. So we move into the fall now, right? And so with fall coming, we end up, and I clicked off of that. There we go. In fall started, we realized that a lot of these centralized exchanges were over leveraged. Some of them are really starting to contract and pull everything back. We're seeing interest rates dropping as far as what you can earn. These several of the exchanges started locking how much you could take out. It turned into a very, very tenuous situation because it was discovered that a lot of these centralized exchanges were using paper coins and paper tokens. Meaning, you would go to XYZ exchange, pick your exchange, and you would buy 2 Bitcoin. And they would credit your account with 2 Bitcoin, but they wouldn't take the money you deposited and actually buy the Bitcoin at that point. So that created a problem when people wanted to withdraw their 2 Bitcoin, because then the exchange went, oh shit, we don't have that Bitcoin. We have to go out and buy it. And that was a big problem that was discovered as well. So they were basically using these exchanges as fractionalized reserve systems, just like the government does and the banks do. And things started to get even more tenuous. That's where you saw the news saying there's like a run on crypto exchanges, right? Because people started seeing this and it was being reported. So more and more people were starting to pull money out of exchanges, which was exacerbating that already ridiculous problem that they had with not having custody of the coins they were supposed to have. And it got really bad very quickly. So BlockFi filed bankruptcy. FTX, as you know, blew up. There's several others that have gone down or locked up. Faz, you mentioned Genesis a little while ago, Gemini's partner with the staking. They owe Gemini $900 million for their customer funds. And these companies are now starting to go back around and saying, hey, can you bail me out? Can you give me $22 billion so that I can make restitution and keep us running? And nobody wants to do that stuff for them anymore after seeing what happened this year.
Okay, so let's go kill ourselves now because everything's sad.
It is sad. Faz, people lost so much money it was not even funny.
It's not just crypto that this happened. This happened with the world economy too.
It did.
So it's again, I keep saying that crypto is correlated to the stock market. If the stock market's doing well right now, crypto is, because crypto is the speculative asset. When you have money and you put it into speculative assets and then your money dries up, you start cashing in your speculative assets, whether it was a good idea or not. That's why crypto is going down. It's still yet to come into its own. And if anything, this winter kind of illuminates how many people are actually keeping or can afford to hold on to their crypto. Going to town with that little smoke machine, aren't you?
I vape like a fiend. Yes, I am a nicotine whore. There is no doubt about it. And it's been almost 9 years now since I got off the cigarettes, and I'm in much better health. There's no doubt about that. But I can't seem to get rid of the nicotine. I just can't do it. I've tried over and over again. So we move into the end of the year here, and we're in Q4 now. We've been suffering pretty much all year. First, it was a slow suffer, just like somebody, tweaking at your nails. In the summertime, they ripped our nails out, and come third and fourth quarter here, they're busting our knuckles with a sledgehammer. All right. So we've gotten to this point, and what we're seeing now is a lot of other countries out there have moved away from the world of crypto and are kind of moving into the Bitcoin realm, right? There's a very, very, very dark black line that separates crypto from Bitcoin. And there's companies like Brazil and El Salvador who have made Bitcoin as legal tender in their countries. Several others are on the cusp of it. But it seems like the crypto industry has to give itself a reason to exist at this point, right? A lot of these scams and these frauds and everything else have exposed themselves. And that's not the type of crypto environment that people imagined when they got into it 2, 3, 4 years ago. They expected this to be a self-regulating space to where these legitimate projects were coming out to make a difference that was supposed to be better for the world. And there were a lot of bad actors, unfortunately, who took advantage of the non-regulated aspect of this industry and have turned it into a complete shit show, I think, at this point. So you have to be very careful when you go forward looking at what crypto projects are actually legitimate and building something good that could turn into something fantastic for everyone, and separate it from the hype and the scammy, just going nowhere kind of tokens that anybody, literally anybody, can go issue. So when I look at it, I look at where are they going to go? What problem are they trying to solve? And are they going to be a decentralized entity, or are they going to be essentially a traditional company just using crypto buzzwords to get people to drop money into them? That's how you got to look at it. I don't know if your opinion is the same on what to be looking for as we go into the end of the year here. If you're talking, you're muted.
I don't know.
You don't know. So what is your game plan then for coming out in 2023 with what you're going to be looking at to put money into?
At the moment, I'm not putting money into anything. I'm having to live off my money. So no, I mean, if I had some extra money, there's a lot of coins out there to buy. There's I still think crypto gaming is going to be doing really well. I do think that there is going to be some sort of, well, the SEC would have you believe that there's going to be a what do they call it? where they completely just wipe everybody out. As the SEC wants to come in at a reckoning. I think there's going to be a great reckoning that the SEC would really like to do. I don't know when that's going to happen. The infrastructure bill, unfortunately, is going to enable this reckoning as of 2023. I believe you cannot do wash sales anymore as of January 2023, or at least it's not clearly defined. But the language in the infrastructure bill, which we should probably post somewhere, we actually have a crypto. We actually have a Faz Radio episode on the infrastructure bill. So I believe the infrastructure bill does not allow you to do wash sales after January 2023. Where are you going, Mr. Titan? Is that your pee bag? What is that? Oh, it's a water bottle.
No, I had to get another water. All that talking made me thirsty.
So I think the SEC wants to come in and really move things around. The crypto lobby is starting to fight back a little bit, and it seems that the Republican senators are trying to lead that charge, a weak charge, against the SEC, the SEC's regulation of crypto. The SEC seems at the moment to be all over stable coins and centralized exchanges, but I think they'll come for games next. They also seem to be going after Hollywood stars that have promoted crypto, which means really what they're saying is they don't want you and me to buy crypto because they don't want to see they want us to be scared by their favorite influencer getting sued.
I don't think you're wrong there at all. I think that was the reason they went after a lot of those people. They want people to be so afraid of crypto that they're not going to put their money into it. They've lost hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars in the stock market because people are taking the money out of the stock market and putting it in crypto. That's a huge problem. So, of course, they're going to protect their own self-interest, which is the banking industry. And the banks are going to have to figure out how to make themselves relevant in a space that doesn't need them anymore. So that's going to be a challenge. And of course, you have your government entities who want to help them and put them in a great position to do just that. So I expect to see a lot of regulations that are going to quote, require banks to be involved somehow, either as a custodian or possibly as a pass-through entity to, quote, verify transactions. I could see them trying some of that kind of silliness just to try and keep them relevant. I did bump into a great article while I was doing some research for this show. And if our awesome producer could put up the Simply Learn article that I bumped into, that would be wonderful. I'd like to go through a few of those if possible, because I think it's really relevant going forward.
Let's see here. Why don't you keep talking until that happens? Wait, I see something.
Yep, I did too.
Let me click on that.
Add to stream. Woohoo!
Okay, good. We got to change this? Where to go?
Whoops.
Where to go? There it is.
There we go.
Hey. Okay, full screen and everything. I like that.
Yeah, I like this. So, while I'm not going to say this is the gospel, okay, I thought it was a really good article to pull some nuggets out of, though. Crypto Prediction 1, we're heading for a crash or an exciting climb. A lot more investors will adopt Bitcoin. This is what I was alluding to a few minutes ago. The consensus seems to be that Bitcoin does need to be separated from crypto. Countries are adopting, countries are adopting Bitcoin. I have not seen one country out there adopt Dogecoin as a legal tender, okay? So until that happens, you'll hear me speak of it like that. The best-known cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, had a good year, right? Well, we could say it had a tenuous year. I was surprised it's held on this long, around the $16,000 to $17,000 range. what's going to happen is that's probably going to hang out there for a while. My guess is that Bitcoin isn't going to start going up again significantly until institutions grab hold of it. And the more countries that make it legal tender and the more regulation that's actually put out, if it's put out that Bitcoin will be regulated by the CTFC or CFTC. I always get these backwards, Faz, and you rip me for it. If it's regulated by them versus the SEC, and there's solid regulation for how that's used, I could see institutions starting to get into it very heavily. So I do think that the Bitcoin side of things is completely separate, and that will be completely different than regular crypto.
Oh, so wait. So when we do our year review next year, we should have clips from here with Titan's predictions.
That's a good idea. I'm okay with that. I got to have prizes though if I win.
No. Well, we'll give out prizes, and then what if you lose? Do you have to sit out a couple shows?
I'll have to give out prizes of some sort then if I lose. So the crypto crash, and we'll post this link that we're showing here. We'll post it in the show notes on YouTube, and we could probably get that distributed on the rest of them as well. That climb to 69,000 that they mentioned in here, it's a fantastic explanation on that. You're going the wrong way there, whoever's scrolling.
Scroll the other way. Oh, so wait, you were taking somebody else's crypto predictions and hawking them as yours.
No, I'm not. I do think that this is what's going to happen, which is why I bumped into it. I said, "Oh, that's pretty good."
This is
what
exactly
I don't
what
agree.
I thought. Okay.
No, wait. So what I don't agree with is prediction number 3. I don't think we're going to see a spot Bitcoin ETF anytime soon.
Really?
I don't.
Okay,
so
screen size. Leave the screen size alone. It's fine.
So
you can hit
Gensler
Control Plus to make it bigger if you want.
Gensler has been against those, and since he's still running the show, I don't see anything coming out anytime soon there because there's other forces at play here, right? The other ETFs, which are on the stock market side, will suffer tremendously. And there's a lot of corporate pressure being put on the SEC to leave Bitcoin out of it. Because if Bitcoin becomes its own ETF, there's going to be billions, if not trillions of dollars flowing into those ETFs that will come from the regular stock market ETFs that are out there now. So I don't think we're going to see a spot Bitcoin ETF in America, at least, in 2023. Decentralized finance. This is big, right? I think, and I don't know any specifically because I have not researched it very deeply at all. I've seen blurbs here and there. I think you are going to see 1 or 2 DeFi companies, legitimate DeFi companies, perhaps with some executives from former banks and some of the other highly regarded companies, financial companies that are going to kind of pull themselves together and create a DeFi platform for 2 reasons. Number 1, they can control it, right? So if these banking executives get together and create a DeFi platform, they will be able to ensure that the other banks can profit off of and be relevant within that DeFi system. Number 2, I think it will smile favorably upon regulators if those people do it because they're already regulating the banks. So I do think we're going to see at least mutterings, if not maybe a initial kind of beginning platform to a fully accredited DeFi platform this year. I don't think like the Solanas, the Polkadots, and the Cardanos are going to be a big player in that. I think they'll probably go with like a JPM coin as a settlement option, though definitely I think going to use a banking coin. And finally, down to the bottom, please, ma'am. The last couple, regulators have their eyes on cryptocurrency. Faz, you talked about this at the beginning of the podcast. Absolutely. I think they're under so much pressure with FTX, BlockFi, and so many others that they are absolutely going to start addressing this head on and with a lot more clarity in 2023. Bitcoin will either outperform or underperform the S&P 500. I think it's going to depend on that regulation. Personally, if the regulation comes out favorably, I think it outperforms the S&P 500. If the regulation is sketchy at best, until institutions get in, I don't think they're going to outperform much of anything. It'll outperform itself potentially, meaning getting above 16.6 as an average. Ether will outperform Bitcoin again. I do not think this at all. I think Ethereum's a shitcoin. And I think their move to proof of stake is going to cost them big time in the long run. They've become more centralized, in my opinion, because of their move. We did a show on that as well. And I explain why. So go back and listen to that. I'm not going to go into it tonight. But I do think Ethereum will be relevant because I do think that the Solanas, the Cardanos, I do think they're gonna underperform tremendously. I think these alt chains, as you might refer to them, are not going to regain the traction that they had this year. Too many people have gotten themselves in trouble with those, and they have not provided enough of a use case to make them more valuable than Ethereum. So I think Ethereum will be held up by the fact that these other chains are not going to be doing so good. Meme coins will disappear, absolutely. As I quoted on 2 other shows recently from our buddy Forged in Crypto, the companies who are scams are pretty much gone by now. They've run out of funding. These meme coins, and as I call them, lottery tickets, where you throw $200 at it, and if you lose it, oh well. If you win, you get $20 million. I think people have learned their lesson with that, especially with Luna and the SHIB and all these other tokens that promise the world and never perform. I think people are finally going to be on the right track with those, and most of those will go away. USD coin will hurdle Tether as the biggest stable coin. I think this is a...
Before or after they get controlled by the U.S. government?
Well, okay, so that was part 2 of what I was going to talk about. I'm trying to figure out how to articulate what I want to say here. So this is obviously very United States focused, right, this article. So worldwide, Tether is huge. All right, it's way bigger in the rest of the world than it is in the United States, and USD coin is way bigger in the United States than it is in the world. I think that as we move forward, there will be a concerted push to get to USD coin because of, as Faz mentioned, they are able to control that coin a lot better. They can freeze not only individual coins, but they can also freeze addresses, which is a huge plus to regulators and those evil people in the government who want to cause pain to people for whatever reason. So I do believe it's a little bit easier to do on the USD coin side, USDC coin side, than it is on Tether. Tether has come under scrutiny for their reserves lately. So I think they're being held back a little bit by that until they can get those issues resolved. I think that they are going to have their growth limited going forward. That's as far as I got. I am not a big proponent of like TA. I think TA is complete bullshit in crypto. I think it helps with the stock market, but crypto's too new. I don't think you can gain anything out of TA. So volatility and TA stuff for Bitcoin, I don't touch that because I don't believe in it.
Yeah, TA is kind of amusing because let's pop us back up here. TA is kind of amusing because people always seem to be able to justify their calls after the fact and not beforehand. They just look at it and they're like, okay, looks like we got a line trending up unless it goes down. And if it goes down, it's going to go down here. And so, what's this? Somebody just popped something up. Was that you? You're muted.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I popped that one up because we were talking about that a little bit earlier. That's some pretty big news. That's a great prediction for 23. I think that's definitely possible. Absolutely. Do you have any other predictions?
Me? I just lost
for 2023.
You interrupted me with that one. What was it?
Good. We're even. You interrupted me in the beginning, and I lost my train of thought. We're even now.
Talking here, buddy. Continue. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that article we posted. A lot of those are in line with what I feel is going to happen. So that's why I thought it was a good article to share. Really.
I think about it in a more generic sense. I'm really worried that the government is going to take the government as crypto goes up. They're going to be trying to get as much money from it as possible. As it goes up, they're going to be painting it as the bad guy the entire time, and every time, and they're going to start publishing these big busts. It's like, okay, XRP might go through the roof, or not XRP. Maybe a coin goes through the roof, and then they start they announce something against that coin, and so of course that'll tamp that coin down, and then another coin will start to go up, and then they'll announce something against that coin. I think they'll be playing whack-a-mole. If they're going to be hitting a lot of the more famous coins, and it's going to be kind of hard to invest. You're gonna have to get lucky. Hopefully you pick something that's being ignored for a while. But how is it going to be ignored? It may be ignored because it gains value slowly. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see all the coins gain value slowly.
Well, that regulation and that adoption will be paramount to making what's relevant and what's irrelevant go away. I do think that we did a show on this a few months back, and we proposed, we had a great discussion around, hey, what if there are different levels of regulation depending on what kind of token you have, right? So if you're like a legitimate DEX with good regulation and good sound bookkeeping and stuff, you're regulated by the CTFC. If you're, out there speculating, CFTC. If you're like a gaming company who's selling dreams and emotions and playability, you're regulated by the SEC. If you're a meme coin or a shit coin, you have an extra layer where you're accountable to both. And I think that would be a way in which they could approach it. I'm not a fan of regulation at all, but if we have to have regulation, I do think there has to be definitive oversight, and there has to be definitive and clear instructions on what regulatory body would regulate it and how it would be regulated.
So, okay, to find out what regulatory body is going to regulate it, don't they have to announce what it is? I mean, the SEC likes to say how clear it is, but then they can't tell you which coins are securities. And the only way you find it,
and they did
by lawsuits.
No, they've already said right now that pretty much Gensler. We did a show on it. Gensler said BTC is not a security, and pretty much everybody else is.
No, what he actually said is when he was asked directly about BTC, he said that's probably not a security. And then when asked about the other coins, he says a lot of them are, or most of them are. So the point that I'm getting at is right now there's 6,000, 7,000 coins out there. So most of them we all know are bullshit coins. I'm thinking of the top 20. If you look at the top 20 coins, you could easily get away with saying, well, the top 100 are not securities, but the bottom 5,900 are securities. That would be most.
Well, that's not true either, because each of those coins, just because they're in the top 20 or top 100, you have to look and see, did they pre-mint? Did they do a pre-sale? Did they do an ICO? How are they selling their stuff, right? Are they selling it based on future value or use today? There's a lot of things that go into determining whether something's a security, not just market cap.
Well, I wasn't making that point, but sure, that's a good point that you have there. I was giving an example. You could have the top 100 as being non-securities. I mean, you could have 100 coins in the entire list of 6,000 coins out there as not being securities. I kind of think that if you that some of the top coins have a bigger chance of defending themselves because they have a rich community, the community is going to stick up for it. The Solana community isn't Solana owned by a lot of rich people?
I don't know the owners of Solana, so to speak.
Well, I think
I don't have a lot of.
So if you have a coin, if you have a coin that the feds are going after that a lot of rich people own, they can start funneling money to the right places to start defending it in court and stuff like that.
Good point.
Ripple is kind of an example right there. They seem to have as much money as they need to defend their coin, and I bet they have friends. They do work around the world, so they're making money and they're able to spend it on defending themselves. I think the SEC is going to try over and over again. I think after a while that maybe this can be a prediction, but I don't know for what year. After a while, there might be a consortium of companies or some sort of body that will defend some coins against the SEC or something. The SEC really, what they call a security, in my opinion, is anything that they could point to a human being at. You can't point to a human being with Bitcoin because we don't know where Satoshi is. And he was very smart about that. With Ethereum, yeah, there's human beings that you could point to. So they could eventually go after those. They may or may not. And there's backroom deals going right now. So whatever the case, that's my 2 cents there. Now, you apparently have some bomb that you've been holding back this entire time, truth bombs, or have you been telling these truth bombs?
So, yeah, I've already got it in the... while you were talking there, I typed it in for the chapters here. Wrap up of 2022 and 2023 and moving on to some truth bombs about Gala that you and I can argue about.
Already predicted it. We're already at an hour. You've been holding out the whole year, or producer disappeared.
Well, we had a very, very tumultuous 2022. So I think we could probably I could yip for 2 or 3 hours on 2022, but these poor people listening don't want to listen to me drone on that long. So I did try and keep it as succinct as the Titan method can do with the way I run my yip. So let's get into why most people are here. The clickbaity title of Gala Truth Bombs. Okay. So I'm going to start with a big one. And I can't wait to hear your response to this. Gala had an interesting year, right? So 2022 versus 2021, I think they took a step backward.
Talking about Gala Games.
Gala Games.
Well, did Gala Games take a step backward, or did the coin?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think they took a fairly decent-sized step back. They seem to be garnering momentum moving from 21 into 22. And in 2022, they don't seem very much further along than they were in 2021.
Remember,
this isn't even the bomb yet, by the way. I'm just setting it up.
I want to qualify this. Just remember, they're not gaining momentum because every other company is losing money in investments right now. They probably had to turn around and slow the fuck down because everything else went down. So go ahead, continue.
They don't need to slow down. They've got their money. from the sales of all their NFTs.
This is specious. You have no idea how much they have or how much they're holding on to. Go ahead.
So they made a lot of money. We know that, right? Because we're the ones who gave it to them. so that the rest of that shouldn't affect anything they're doing, right? They don't have what do you call those? Like angel investors or VC investors to be accountable to, yes. Right? They had enough money to start Gala Films. They had enough money to start Gala Music, fully staff them, grab artists, sign contracts, sign gaming partners for the gaming side, and they had all that money for that. So they're doing okay, and Bitbender says they're doing fine. So they should be focused on them. Who cares about the rest of the economy? They should be focused on them. Here's my truth bomb. Gala existed for about 2 years before you and I got into it, right? We've been here a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Yes, but there's a difference in what that existing means. So apparently they started out in 2019. And then in late 2020, they started putting out their first NFTs, if I'm not mistaken. Right. Go ahead.
So here's truth bomb number 1.
And they had like 6 employees for the whole first 2 years, by the way.
That was their choice.
That was reality, economic reality. Go ahead.
All right. I think 2023 is the year of reckoning for Gala Games. I think they are a mid to low tier gaming company at this point, based on the results that we've seen so far. And I feel that by the end of this year, if significant improvements haven't been made, that Benefactor and Bitbender should perhaps transition to another part of the company. Meaning, like,
why would their marketing director have to transition to another part of the company?
There's no marketing director. There's president of blockchain and CEO.
Oh.
Under their leadership, it's just not getting done yet. Okay? That's my opinion. I think they should be a lot further along.
So that's what you think right now. Okay.
Right now, right. And 2023, I think, is their defining year. So what they accomplished this year should define for them whether they should still be making the decisions for Gala Games. Because that will have been 2 years of active leadership along with 2 years of passive leadership. And if they can't start getting drops right, they still have not managed to get one drop to go off without a hitch. They've put out a couple of play tests. They've put out halfway sort of game in
when
Town
can I
Star
start turning you a new asshole here?
In about 30 seconds.
Okay.
And Spider Tanks, but that obviously isn't close to finished yet. They've made decisions on, the honor system, which I'll get into later with another truth bomb. Their experiments are not working. Okay? So I think that if by the end of next year they're not in a much better position, I think they should move Benefactor out to be a relationship expert, consultant, whatever you want to call it. And I think the guy who receives all of the flack from everybody, Bitbender, that front-facing guy who's right out in front of everything, if he can't motivate that Gala team to get done what needs to get done as well, I think maybe putting him behind the scenes to do something different would be in Gala's best interest.
Okay, so let me comment on this. Let me make my picture bigger. Okay, Gala Games, to me, seems to be a crypto game publisher. They also happen to have a development studio of their own. Their job right now is to sell NFTs. Stop blowing smoke at me. Can I put you on the other side of the screen?
No.
Okay, their job is to sell NFTs, and where was I getting at that? And they have a lot of games that will be using these NFTs. I predict in 2023 that they will be making a slow, steady progression through the year, putting out new games as they get them done. It could be one game or two games more than what they have right now, or it could be 5 or 10. Who knows? But they're going to make a steady progression with the games, and the games that they have are going to have a steady progression of features. I think Miranda's probably still won't be out, but you'll be seeing some play tests every quarter, which is what they've said. And I think they're going to be incrementally moving their company forward. So they went up from like 6 to 8 employees in 2019 to like what, around 400? I don't know where they're sitting at right now. I think they had some layoffs recently due to the economy. So I think maybe they're down to 350. They have a lot of people, and they have a lot of projects going on. And you're going to see some of those projects coming out in whatever state that they decide to put them in, and they will be playable to some of them will be playable to some degree. That's a good model. They have a number of different areas that they're wanting to hit, and they'll be able to make NFTs for each one of them. The only place that can go wrong, in my opinion, or the only place that I think that it would go wrong, is not by their own stupidity, as you would have, but rather government regulation. If government starts giving them a hard time directly, the Gala coin would tank. And then who knows how long it will be before things recover. But it depends on how severely the government might go after them. Maybe the government might just go after the industry and say something like, if you have a gaming token, then you're a security. But since they have not been very clear about what securities are, they might just go after a gaming token in particular, in which case Gala Games is one of the bigger ones. I mean, there is Decentraland and Sandbox, but there's some debate about how many daily active users they have. So if they chose Gala, that would be bad for the coin. If they chose another one like Decentraland or whatever, that would be bad for the coin, because those three coins, Decentraland, Sandbox, and Gala Games, they seem to move in lockstep with each other. So if one coin takes a hit, the others will. Why? Because maybe that's what's seen as the sector. So that's my prediction.
Did you read the Masari report that was posted by Porkchop?
No.
So if you go and dig into that, where they talk about the crypto gaming, and then there's some links that you can follow, and Gala appears on a chart. And
notes in the private chat for you too.
Yeah, Bitbender had made that comment when he was on with us and said, hey, we're moving lockstep with them. But if you look at the actual chart, okay, Sandbox had a market cap like this, and it went down and it stayed the same, okay? The other ones did the same. Gala's shrunk as it followed the same part. So there is a definitive difference. Even though it followed the same track, it lost a ton of market cap. And I don't want to speculate onto why. I didn't research it, so I don't want to talk about it. But as you said, getting into Truth Bomb number 2, while I respond to that. And by the way, it's important to know, I never said they were stupid. Okay.
I was assuming.
I have said they have a frat house mentality.
Well, you were making a point that they were their own worst enemies and that they were making things wrong.
They are.
There's a good place to dovetail what Virtual here is saying in chat, where he says, "You guys haven't discussed Gala's biggest existential threat, potentially fatal misdirection, their economic designs. Spider Tanks is in a death spiral, and other games will follow if no shift." I'm not aware of Spider Tanks being in a death spiral, because they told you before the coin even came out that you're gonna be disappointed with what happens with the coin. It's gonna be worth a lot, and then it'll probably start tanking. So, I would think that it's actually planned to do that. However, you have a point that any of these games, they're going to be interesting at first, and a lot of people are going to get into them and use them while they're popping out a lot of coins, and then they're going to start dropping adoption. So it's really got to be up to their marketing department to keep Spider Tanks going. To be fair, Gala Games was really going gangbusters with South Korea and Spider Tanks and having televised tournaments until South Korea started making crypto games illegal, and I believe it's Gala Games kind of lost a lot of momentum with Spider Tanks there, because Spider Tanks was like they'd had like TV shows of people playing that game.
Right. So to kind of dovetail into bomb number 2, is kind of what you said. They reduced their staff from somewhere over 400 to, we're guessing, of course, because we haven't seen a number lately, right around 350 people. Whether by their own choice or whether they were sacked, Gala has reduced their employee base, right? And these just aren't, interns. There's a lot of higher level people that have either walked out or gotten canned. And that is a little bit concerning, right? So you've argued up, down, sideways, and backwards that this is perfectly normal for startups and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so regardless of whether that's common or normal, you would expect that if people are leaving or getting canned, that there's someone that's going to be better that's going to step into that role.
No.
And do things better.
No.
You don't take a downgrade. You don't.
Okay.
No, that's not the way it works.
My observation here is I've been a software developer for a long time, and what happens, frankly, is when the company has money, they hire more people, they make more promises. When the company doesn't have money or is losing income streams, then they start cutting away slack and hedging on their bets or changing what they say about their promises or scheduling things outward and stuff like that. This is a common everyday thing that happens with a lot of companies, a lot of software companies, and if you don't take that into account, then you're just being bitchy.
No, that's not true. So when people make a change like that, if you're sitting in a leadership position, and whether you fire somebody or they walk out and say, I'm done with this stuff, you don't go out and say, hey, let's go get the cheapest, crappiest employee that we can find to fill their shoes, right? You go out and you get someone better than the person that you either canned or that walked out so that you can continue on and hopefully do it in a better way. And we've seen a lot of people that have gone out and not a lot of people coming in that have made a difference, because as I talked about, I think they took a step backwards. Now, am I saying that's because of the employees that left? No. I think there's a lot of factors that play into that. I think that is a factor in why they took a step back. Yes.
Okay.
Moving on to Truth Bomb number 3. And
Are you flagging these things? Are you writing down timestamps for
Yes, I am. That's why I said hang on a minute. So I don't get behind. So number 3 is the sales model, right? And I literally saw this today in a comment that Bitbender had made in our Gala Stuff, I think it was Gala Stuff channel, and said, hey, we're not selling things that don't have utility right away. But they are. And someone kind of called him out on that and said, oh, so horses have utility now? And LE nodes are functioning now? Well, no, I said most. Okay, well, there are some that do have utility today. Some of the most of the Townstar stuff I think that they're selling has utility right away. But a lot of these other sales are not. And I'm a big proponent. I think this whole pre-sale stuff has got to stop. Instead of being a publisher that's going to raise a shit ton of money upfront by selling NFTs for a game that they're going to start developing or pay a studio to continue developing, and we have to wait 2, 3, 4 years for this game, I don't think that's a survivable model. And I'm talking about for the industry, not for the game, right? Because they can make enough money on those pre-sales to keep funding the game for 3 or 4 years. But then you don't know what you're going to get either.
Stop.
Why are you stopping me?
Because I like how you threw that out. Because they make so much money on the pre-sales that they can fund the game for a couple of years. No, I would doubt that. That's not how the way software development works. Yes, it would be nice if they... It would be nice.
Robotron said so in that interview. Did you not watch it?
That's nice. I'm talking about software companies in general.
We're talking about Gala here, not software companies.
Boy, that would be nice if each pre-sale for a game could cover several years of development. I'm not aware of a pre-sale for the Champions Arena, for example. So where's that development being funded from? I mean, there's other ones like the Fortress something Fortified. They had a little tiny ass pre-sale. They didn't sell much at all. They sold these little towers, and that's it. So is that funding everything? No. So I think that Robotron might have been talking about a specific game. Mm-hmm. Maybe Townstar, maybe Miranda's, but I don't think he's talking about
Spider Tanks. I think it was.
Okay, Spider Tanks. Yeah, they made a shitload of money. They're fine.
Yeah, they made 5 times their budget.
And EOE did too. I thought that was EOE that told us that. When we had the interview.
No, but I think Robotron. And if someone is listening that can settle that would be great. But I'm pretty sure it was Spider Tanks. But they got 5x just from the pre-sale. This wasn't tank sales later or anything else, right? This pre-sales model, I think, has got to stop. You develop a game, you make it fun, you get it up, you get it running, you get people playing it, and then you sell stuff like NFTs and skins and all the other stuff, and that back funds the game, right? That way people can use what they buy immediately. The second part of this sales model that they have, where they're not giving you details up front and exactly what it's going to do and how it's going to function and what the player can expect from it, that's got to stop. This will tell you later, people aren't buying it anymore. They're done with it. Wallets are closed for business, okay? They have to start telling people what they're getting, and then they have to stick to it. And if that means, well, they say, oh, well, we can't do that because the game's not developed yet. Okay, here we go with the chicken and the egg. Then don't be surprised when nobody buys your stuff, because people want to know what they're spending $3,000 on. They don't want, oh, well, it's going to be great. You'll love it. No, I won't, because I want to know what I'm buying for $3,000.
So, okay, what I hear you demanding is a very specific model and way to develop games. And it sounds very smart. And it sounds very robust. That is, if you, I don't know, if you can afford to take your time. My understanding with a lot of software development out there is people frequently rob Peter to pay Paul. They get game 1 going to pay for game 2, and they start hedging bets, and they're like, well, then game 1 will, then this one will start making money, and then the other ones will get paid off, and so on. And then if things go south, they start moving money around. It really, keeping the lights on at a company is kind of, at a software development company, is kind of a big deal. So they're going to try all sorts of shenanigans to make money there. Yes, it would be nice if everybody did things that way. I mean, it would be nice if you didn't use a credit card. Now, I won't ask you because I think you're against the concept of credit cards, but a lot of people use credit cards because they need to pay back the money later. They'll do it, they'll charge something now and then pay it off later. Companies do the same thing, just not with credit cards. They screw around with money. So yeah, wouldn't that be nice if they did that? but I would challenge you to find a game company that does not do that.
So this brings up a good point, right? You do need to fund the production of the game. You can't wait to sell NFTs. You do need to start with some sales. Right, so here's the thing. 2 things can happen. Number one, they have collected a ton of money from people in current pre-sales. So now would be a good time to make that transition, right? They have money that they're fine. Bitbender said they got plenty of runway. They can fund those games themselves, and that would help push them to get these games out a little bit quicker too. When they have the money up front, they can wait 10 years to develop anything. Doesn't matter. They've already got their money. If, on the other hand, they don't make enough money until they put the game out, that helps them stick to a timeline. All right? The part of this where they can raise some money up front is to do a Kickstarter type model, or sell land and nothing else up front. Or what you do, I even suggested using a different type of model where you say to people, okay, we want to develop a game like Mirandus, right? And here's what it's going to be like, and here's the concept art. They're pitching us just like VCs, right? Here's what we want it to look like. Here's what we want it to do. We're asking you to kick in $1,000, and you're going to get a special Mirandus token for that, and you hold on to that token. And when the game gets produced and the game goes out, you can take that token and use it in the game, okay? To get a free skin or a free whatever, come up with something. That token is worth something. Or if the game doesn't develop out and they decide to scrap the game, they give you your $1,000 back and then they pitch you another game. That's the way the world works from the VC side. It should work the same with the players if the players are expected to fund that game.
Oh, was it my turn?
If you want to respond, otherwise I'll move on to the next bullet point.
No, move on. Okay. I didn't have any retort. I hear a train coming.
I know. I'm like a mile from there, and you can still hear that. That's amazing. All right, so we're at 132. Okay. Next is the whole concept of the Thoon list. Okay.
The Gala Games Thoon list. Yes.
Gala Games Thoon list. I think a big part of the community's butthurt and loss of trust in Gala.
Explain what that is first. Gala,
what is?
Okay, I'll explain the Gala Games Thoon list. So Gala Games has made promises over the years, saying, "Hey, look, this new game is coming out, and hey, look, this thing's coming out," and people will be like, "Wow, does the game do this? Does the game do that? Oh yeah, game does this," and then they'll answer questions a lot of times. They get themselves into trouble because they answer questions, or they'll announce it. We're going to do this thing, and then it never happens.
Well, don't gloss over it. They've committed to utility for tokens that they've sold.
Okay, well, let's not go into the items, but all I'm saying is they've committed to various things. They said that we're going to do this, and so somebody, I believe that was Old Man Smithers, made a list called the Thoon list because people would ask when these things would be done, and they'd say Thoon, and so he made a Thoon list of all the things that Gala Games has promised over the years. And that's being kept on an Excel spreadsheet somewhere, I think. And it's getting rather large. Continue. I've set you up.
Yes. And any company that does that is going to find problems down the road, either sooner or later. And Gala has managed to dig themselves a pretty big hole with how many items are on that Thoon list.
We're adding them. Of the people that keep track.
We're adding items to that list far more than we're pulling items off that list. And occasionally we'll ask for updates on that, and 9 out of 10 times the answer is, let me look into it and get back to you, and then they never get back to us.
We should have a Thoon list feature every time Bitbender is on the show. How's that?
Well, that, or...
We're going over it one by one.
Or we should, on every show, pull an item off the Thoon list and challenge them to get it completed, or at least give us a timeline on when.
Ready? Right? Go!
Yeah. that is a mark, in my opinion, a mark of death for a company who develops a Thoon list as extensive as Gala Games has developed. So I think if they don't want to keep those promises anymore, they should just say so and have the balls to just stand up and say, you know what, we made the promise, we're not going to be able to keep it, take it off the list.
Okay, what does that mean? Because so when you say they're not going to be able to keep it, first of all, I don't think that they're all of a sudden going to say that they're not going to do something that they promised. I think that they're always going to say, it will come later. And remember, a lot of software project promises can get repurposed. Say, I don't know, they're going to build a garage for your car. The garage might not look how you think about it. It might be a tarp. That's technically a garage. So they can easily knock off some of those things in ways that people won't like.
I'm on mute. Yeah, that's very true. But that's what I'm saying. Either complete the promise, or have the guts to stand up and say, we're not going to be able to do that after all. One of the two. But just letting this ride and making a joke of it and thinking it's funny, that time is over now. People want results one way or another. So I think they need to step up to the plate, whether they use their cake team. I don't even know if that thing even exists anymore. Or whatever the case may be. They had
spun up a customer service team called Cake, spelled CACE, that was supposed to address problems, complaints, whatever, and Thoon list stuff. I don't even remember. And then they discontinued the team as quickly as they started it. It was like just a month or something, and then it was gone. It's
yeah, well, that's what I mean.
So the Cake team alone is on the Thoon list, and it was supposed to knock out the Thoon list. So yes, we need some answers. That we need a show to pin Gala to the wall in these things, asking what's the deal.
Very true. That's my opinion, at least.
Okay. Moving on.
And yep, moving on. You're getting antsy, aren't you?
Well, we've only been broadcasting for an hour and 37 minutes. I know some people like to watch streams for like 6 hours.
I know. So next on this list is the node economics, and we did a show on this. All right, they're just churning out nodes as money makers for them at this point, right? So founders nodes have been around for almost 2 years now. They're still at this point, and there's arguments on this, okay? So the consensus generally is, and someone was kind enough to post code about it too, which kind of verified it, they're not doing anything. These nodes still aren't doing anything after almost 2 years, except pinging the server to say, hi, I'm here. And they're basically just token printing machines at this point. There was all kinds of drama with opening up different individual game nodes.
Are you going somewhere with this?
Yes.
You're dropping a bomb here.
Yes, there is a... I don't want to use the word promise. There is a statement that was made that with these V3 nodes that are coming out, I think it's January 18th, that they're actually going to be doing something other than checking in. I think this is going to be the year of the test for them as well. If they can't provide...
And the test will probably go badly at first. Things will start working. The game, Townstar will break. It'll start being used by the nodes, and then it'll bust. And then it'll break, and then it'll go get going again, and then it'll bust again, and then people will be losing their fucking minds. Titan here will be freaking out. We'll be having Faz Radio cast about how Townstar is unreliable, because it will be. That's another prediction of mine, by the way.
So you're very bearish on Gala's ability to make nodes work. Got it.
And not bearish, just realistic. I think they're going to have some problems because they've got to scale up. If they start getting a lot of adoption really quick, like if this method works and these nodes are running the way that they want them to, they're going to have to deal with scaling problems. I think scaling problems will happen.
Fair enough. So with that, the portion that I believe needs to be called out is they need to make significant progress on these nodes. The part that I think is pretty crappy as well is that there was all sorts of high drama about the halvening over the summer. And there was supposed to be bonuses voted on and everything else. They're not using the node ecosystem for votes. The votes that took place, they're not enforcing for founders nodes. What's going to happen is, remember, we were supposed to only be getting 80 tokens a day at this point. They kept it at the roughly 160 that it is now. So when it halves again this summer, technically that should drop to like 40 tokens a day for everybody. They're waiting for whatever reason, and I'm not saying it's nefarious, but they're waiting for whatever reason to turn nodes into NFTs. By the time these nodes turn into NFTs, they're going to be worthless. They're going to be producing, 18 cents a day. So that makes it worthless to the community as far as an NFT. So after this year, there's probably going to be no incentive to make the nodes an NFT from the player's side. From the Gala side, do something with them then. You've created these nodes. You've made promises that they're going to run the ecosystem. Make them run the ecosystem. At least try. As Faz says, if they break, they break, but have them doing something. And another point I want to make is that until they do something significant, I would hope that they're not going to keep raising up the requirements of these nodes, because right now they've already raised the requirements on nodes once, and we've seen that they're doing nothing except the same timestamps they were doing before those node requirements were raised.
I'm hearing some rambling here.
There's no rambling.
This was always said that the requirements were going to be raised. In fact, the criticism before was that they were just pingers. Now they're actually using IPFS, and yeah, they're just pinging, but they're set up to work the way that they want them to. IPFS requires a certain hardware requirement. The previous version, which didn't have it, you could have ran that on a Raspberry Pi, but you can't do it anymore because of the IPFS requirements. As these games start going, they're going to start nailing. They're going to start narrowing down on, okay, if you're going to run Townstar, then you've got to have at least this machine. That's inevitable. And so the people right now who are running IPFS pingers are going to be upset because the game now needs to run on the CPU on their actual machine for somebody playing the game. That has been telegraphed since the very beginning, and the way that you tell the story is that they're changing their tune. They're not.
They have
always said this.
They've moved Townstar to server side. What are the nodes actually going to do?
They'd be the server side, right? They'd be the server.
No, they wouldn't.
They'd be the server, dude.
Are you sure about that? I'm not.
What do you mean? Am I
sure
sure about that? What do you think that it means by changing something from browser side to server side? Come on.
So I know what it means, but are they going? If they're going to use the nodes as the, all right, let's assume for a moment
would
they
be
use
the
nodes
servers.
as okay. So if they were to do that, that would mean that they would have to split all those workloads across all those nodes, right?
That's the whole intention of how that works.
The whole intention of how it works. So how are they going to do that when now they can't even keep the ping machine working?
I'm hearing an uninformed setup, which I think goes well beyond the four corners of your little list of turd bombs. I'm hoping we can get to the rest of the turd bombs soon, because I'm starting to get hungry.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's my bomb there. Make them do something significant, or again, step away from them and try something new.
Okay.
Next is everybody's favorite topic is the honor system.
How many more you got, by the way?
17. Just kidding. There's the honor system, there's GYRI chain, and then there's players versus ROIBOIs.
Thank you. There's some people bitching about the honor system in chat. You can include their opinions.
Yes. Let's do it. Where's the chat?
Let's see.
Yes.
What's his name?
Pull him up
David Parra
while I ramble. Pull him up while I ramble. But this honor system, I think, is a huge, huge, huge community killer. When there are new players that are coming in that start with an honor of 1, and they just come in, they spend $500, $600, $700, $1,000 on tanks and gear to get in there, and you then have to build up your honor, and you're almost coerced into collecting little tiny rewards, and then those rewards, they're encouraging you to spend all those rewards back to Gala to upgrade your tank.
Didn't Forged in Crypto say that he cashed out 100 silk and it completely nuked his honor?
Yeah. So
100 silk. That's it.
Now wait. Now it gets better, because if you talk to him, he also said that he spent a fuck ton of silk tokens upgrading tanks. So he has not only spent probably 100 silk, he's spent probably, I'm guessing, I don't know, maybe he can clarify for us next Thursday, probably 100 or more silk on upgrading tanks. He takes another 100 out and his honor is ruined, so he can't earn with all those tanks. He just spent 100 silk to upgrade.
So, and that's a good point. Why would you lose honor for upgrading a tank? Wouldn't that be the very definition of keeping something in the system?
No, you don't earn it from upgrading it. What I'm saying is that the whole purpose of honor, when they came out with honor, one of the big things they said is you need to be contributing more to the system than you're pulling out.
Yes, I'm just saying, aren't you contributing when you're upgrading your tank?
You are. So if you've spent 100 silk upgrading tanks, if you take out 100, your honor shouldn't be hit. But that's assuming people buy into this honor bullshit. I don't buy into it. There's so many others that don't buy into it. New players are coming in. They're having their expectations and their hype and their excitement for that game ruined by this honor system. If they go in, they upgrade a bunch of their tanks, and then they want to pull something out, they can't do it without hurting themselves. And that's against a decentralized, player-focused, player community type of environment that Gala says they want to build. So my truth bomb is, scrap the honor system, or you're going to screw your community to the point where no one's going to want to come play games here.
Okay.
And this is my favorite topic. I get really hot about GYRI chain. Okay? So moving on to GYRI chain. Because you're rushing me. Because you're hungry. Well, the truth is far more important. All right. GYRI chain. You have a chain, an L1 that they said they've built. Number one, this GYRI chain is supposed to be built by people who can't get a drop right. So I have a lot of reservations to begin with. They couldn't get the whitelist done right for the last two. But they've built an L1 chain from pretty much scratch, private and proprietary. I'm sorry, I'm just not buying it right now. Second, we've seen 0 audits. None. I would hope that in the spirit of transparency, all the audits, because they're going to get more than one done, usually chains have 3 or 4 audits done, all of them unredacted, all the pages there on the GYRI chain, right? I think that should be a big priority. Second, people still don't have their keys. People are putting tens of thousands of dollars, if not aggregated into several $million with all players, of assets onto this chain, and they don't have keys. They have a promise that Gala will help them find something if they lose it. That's not what Web3 is. Permissionless and trustless is Web 3. Trusting Gala and getting their permission to be able to use assets on their platform is not decentralized. It's not Web 3. So we come to our third major problem is there's no Explorer. Benefactor made the announcement in one of the channels, we've been using Explorer for weeks, but it's not ready for the public yet. What does that mean? The UI is ass? Could be something very simple like that, right? It just doesn't look pretty, so they don't want to release it. I get that. Okay, work on it. But that was a month ago. How long does it take to upgrade a UI quickly in order to get it out to the people? There's also the nefarious side where people go, they're probably going to want to limit what people can see. So when this Explorer comes out, I would hope that no transactions are going to be censored, like Gala wallets or employee wallets or things along those lines. Whales will have, I don't want there to be any censorship on that Explorer at all. So with no audits, no keys, no Explorer, I have no trust. I will not be putting any assets onto that GYRI chain, whether it's tokens or NFTs or anything else, until those things happen.
By the way, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, I lost my thought now because you interrupted yet again.
Oh, I'm sorry. You've only been talking for a fucking hour straight. Jesus Christ. People are going to bed because you're talking so goddamn long, and we still have
there are more people watching now with my truth bombs than when we were talking about regulation. So shut it.
One more person, but okay. Anyway, so since this comment is still up, I was actually able to fire a question to Bitbender about the honor system, and I talked about the very thing that me and you were complaining about. I said basically, if you pull out the silk, you lose honor, and then if you upgrade the tanks, now you can't earn it back. And he says something like, if you take silk out and upgrade, you should not be impacted. If you are impacted, then something's fucked up as he understands it. So that's I said I'd pass that on.
Okay. Good enough.
So it sounds like upgrading your tanks would be technically putting it back in. I would suggest that somebody test this out. Forged in Crypto would be a perfect person to do that. And the other thing I was verifying was that retired astronaut would be still coming on soon to talk about the nodes in general, so we can have a node cast.
All right, and finally we have players versus ROIBOIs. We talked about this a little bit way earlier in this cast. When we compared, the marketing strategy. So they're marketing to crypto people. So of course there's ROIBOIs. That's all they've managed to market to so far, not gamers. Cracking that key to getting actual players and gamers over here is going to be difficult. And especially when you have honor systems and GYRI chains with no accountability for audits or anything like that. They're, again, shooting themselves in the foot because they're trying to go fast instead of doing it right. All right? They've got to get Gala films out super fast because we need to be the first ones doing it. We need to get Gala music out super fast. Just stop it. Put games out to play, then sell players items, collect money, rinse, repeat, and then later on, 5 years down the road, if everything's successful and the whole platform's working, you want to add an L1 chain when you've proven that you could do security right, you've proven that you can create a platform that players want to play on, then do that. Right now, and these are shoot from the hip numbers, estimates of some pretty smart people, because we don't have transparency on actual numbers. They won't tell us. But just based on leaderboard statistics, and that data is pulled straight from the games, as well as what we see in the games, as far as how long it takes to do matchmaking and how often you're running into the same players. And with Townstar, how many people, there's only 5 servers. If you look in all 5 servers, you can see how many people are playing. Gala Games, in 2 years of operations with these games, has only managed to pull about 1,000 players per game, DAU.
Where are you getting these numbers from, sir?
I just explained that to you.
Okay. Sorry, I was actually looking at something else, so that's my fault.
That's your fault. So after 2 years, I would expect that more than 1,000 players would be playing these games on a regular basis. If they're not, it's because of one or two reasons. Either A, they're not making the kind. If they're an ROI boy, they're not the kind of. They're not making the kind of money they would expect to make for what they've paid out, so they're going to leave the platform. Number two, if they're an actual gamer, that tells me the games aren't fun. Because if they're gamers, they're going to bring their friends in, and more players are going to adopt it. They're going to be promoting it on social media that this is a fun game to play. So neither of those two, whether you're a player or an ROI boy, it's not working out for either side. Gala needs to sit down over a couple of beers, and they need to figure out what kind of gaming platform they want to be. If they want to be a traditional gaming platform, that's fine. Pull out of this Web3 stuff you talk about but don't deliver on, and go to be a Web2 gaming company. Or if you're going to be a Web3 gaming company, you need to take and do demonstrated steps as to becoming trustless and permissionless. And you can go back through the truth bomb list to find out how to do that. They need to then also, on top of that, once they decide which way they want to go, they then need to take and figure out a marketing plan on how to get players in there. Because without players, nothing's going to work. Nothing. 1,000 DAU is nothing. And if they continue that in 2023, see Truth Bomb 1, 2, and 3 to see what's going to happen with Gala Games. I don't think they survive. They're mid to low tier right now. They can't seem to get partnerships with more gaming companies at this point.
I think you're feeding on yourself at this point. I think you've come up with so many negative items that you can't see past it. I think they'll be okay.
No, then let's see it. 2023 is the year of let's see it. Let's see them do those things.
This argument style. This argument style is fallacious because you're basically saying, "I think it's full of shit. I think that they're gonna die. They're gonna be doomed. I'm not going to give you very many reasons. And if they don't, well, then let's see it happen."
No, they're saying they can do it. So let's see them do it. They've been talking about it. They're talking. Talk.
Don't make me mute you. I think they're going to be steadily growing, and they will basically be doing what they're doing right now. They'll have more things on the Thoon list. They have been delivering some things on the Thoon list. It was said in chat here even. So I think they'll have more things on the list, and they'll have delivered some off of the list. They'll have additional games, and it's going to be, a mix. Reality is a mix. Reality isn't an absolute. They're not going to be either gone or through the roof. Or they're most likely not going to be gone or through the roof. They're going to be somewhere in the middle, in my opinion.
So define, you said you think they're going to grow. Define what that means.
The way that you have been defining it, the very act of seeing that they have games, I think they're going to have more games being offered, and that the economies are going to start moving, and I think you're going to be able to do more at Gala Games. Their website will be better, things like that.
I think they need to show proof of not physical.
I don't know how much DAO. I don't know how much money they have, and
daily. I'm talking about daily active users.
They're a private company. They don't need to do that.
They can. No, that's what I just said. Not physical. And what I'm saying is, they can put out 500 games. I don't give a shit. If only 50 people are playing them, that's not successful. That's not growth. Just because they put games on the platform.
I don't know.
What I want to see is 10,000 daily active users on the platform.
I don't know.
That would tell me they're growing.
I don't know how many are on the platform right now. That's not something that they publish.
But it's something we can estimate based on some of the software that third parties have put together.
Maybe. I'd have to see these estimates. I mean, that's a claim that's yet to be shown. I'd be happy to look at your method, but again, saying something and then starting to go to town on it and starting to build on it is kind of bullshit. If the thing that you're saying, at the foundation of your saying, is kind of unknown to begin with, you're speculating. Great, your speculation ends with they're going to be out of business. But I think in reality, they're going to be in business.
I never said they're going out of business.
Okay. Then we are in agreement. I think we should wrap this one up. We're at 2 hours exactly now.
Of course. You wanted to wrap it up a half hour ago. You pushed me through.
I'm hungry.
We warned people this would be a long one. End of year review and a Gala truth bomb list is not easy to get through, but we promised it, so I wanted to deliver it. There will be no Thoon list at CFA.
There, you're back. I was just...
See how he does me dirty like that, boys and girls?
All right. Okay, let's wrap this up.
Yep, let's wrap it up. What other comments do you have? We threw up a bunch today. Oh my God, our producer put 26. Oh, that was you.
Our producer bailed after a while because you took so long.
Hurry up, Titan.
Here,
There's no hurry up.
So let's put on me because we're tired of looking at Titan's blurry ass face.
So my wrap up comment is simply this. While I just beat the snot out of Gala on these truth bombs, they are what I believe in. I think they do need to make the changes that I suggested if they want to be growing, if they want to be successful, if they want to be thought of as a force in this industry. I want to see proof. I want to see action. I don't want to see more talk and more Thoon list.
All right. I think I'll let him have the last word there. So thank you again, people, for joining. This has been a very, very long one. Hopefully, Titan's been keeping up with the chapters.
I kept up with them.
I think we're going to see you again next week then.
Awesome. Thanks to our premium members. Thanks to all our listeners. We'll see you next Thursday.
So let's see if I can get this right. Nope, the pulse. This shows up in the background. I need this to show up in the foreground. There we go. And then I need to hit this button. Oh, wait, Titan. We have our pre-recorded outro to do. Can you say your thing so that people will know?
Oh, absolutely. Hey, subscribe, and throw some comments below. That helps us, which in turn helps us provide you with much, much better content every week. Thanks for being a listener. Thanks for supporting the channel.
And thanks for sitting through our pre-recorded outro.